Shove it, man!
Brick to the head brigade, it's time for another exciting episode of Ring of the Hawk. This one's going to be a tricky one to judge, but just to make the grading clear, character work and gimmick is factored into the final grade, and our guy today is most likely going to need that to save him from the shove it zone. Big shout out to Jonas Jones over on Patreon for requesting today's video. If you want to make the Hawk talk, sign up on Patreon today, and while you're at it, check out my Daphne tribute video. I think this is some of my best work, but the view count says otherwise, not quite sure why that is. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. And of course,
If you know a wrestler that can do the J-O-B to the H-A-W-K any night, any day, ha ha! Shove their name in the comments, Jack!
Alright, Samuel Shaw, did he make the Hawk snore? It doesn't start out well for Sam as he's trying to do a gut check promo. Gut Check was basically a segment TNA ran for around a year where hopefuls from the indies would get a chance to compete on Impact and then they would be judged and it would be decided if they were going to get a TNA contract. It seemed like an okay idea on paper, but it didn't really go well, and most of the guys that were signed failed and never came to anything in TNA. The other problem was that it wasn't clear if it was real or not. Sam Shaw's an interesting one because he probably had the most TV time out of any of these guys. So Sam's cutting a decent promo on why TNA should hire him, but then he's jumped by the Aces and Eights, so that ends that. He's back again on the next episode of TNA. Sam Shaw's competing in another gut check segment. He's in the ring with greasy gelled up hair and skater shorts, but I guess everyone has to start somewhere. Match 1, Sam Shaw against the veteran Douglas Williams. Sam Shaw scores the first knockdown and he starts running everywhere. It almost goes wrong for him as Douglas Williams throws him overhead, but Sam impressively lands on his feet. Good start. Shaw nails a nice drop kick and a back body drop, but Williams doesn't land on his feet. Shaw continues doing well and hits a back breaker neck breaker combination for a 2 count. He gives Williams a scoop slam and then he goes up top, but he's distracted by the crowd and Joey Ryan. Williams jerks him off the top. Everyone stops paying attention to the match because Al Snow is squaring up to Joey Ryan. Williams hits a big time clothesline. He then hits a knee in the corner and a nice suplex. Shaw tries to get back to his feet as Williams slaps him and then Williams puts him away with his beautiful rolling Chaos Theory suplex. Not too bad. The commentary team said that Sam Shaw describes his in-ring style as full throttle, which is laughable when you see these later matches. I quite enjoyed this one though, and he seems like he has the potential to go further. It's a C for his debut. Sam Shaw now has to face the judges to see if he gets a place on Impact. Al Snow said no, Bruce Pritchard said yes, and this left Sam having to beg Taz to say yes to him, and he managed to convince him, so Taz got a big hug and he looked very happy about it. Sam Shaw's happiness would not last for long though because he was shipped off to Ohio to improve in OVW. He wouldn't appear on TNA again for 4 months. When he did finally appear again on TNA, he'd smoothed his hair down and he calls out the first ever gut check winner. Match 2, Sam Shaw vs Alex Silver. This would be Alex Silver's final TNA match and only his second ever TNA match at the same time by Rob Terry rules, so he wouldn't exactly make a good episode of Ring of the Hawk. At least he seems to be out of prison and back to wrestling nowadays. Silver attacks Shaw straight away like a pit bull terrier. Silver follows it up with a back body drop whilst taking his time and walking around the ring like a moron. Shaw really isn't doing well here. This Alex Silver, he looks so weird without knee pads. Silver smacks him again in the corner and puts on a sleeper, but he's still unable to make a comeback. Silver starts singing "Oh Canada" at the crowd. He's actually a pretty good heel to be fair. Silver hits a scoop slam while Shaw still hasn't hit a move. Silver tries another back body drop, but Sam Shaw sort of lands on his feet. Shaw is finally awake and he hits a big spear and some drop kicks. He follows it with a running drop kick and hits a back breaker into a neck breaker. Shaw heads up top and nails a leg drop which ends the match. Surprisingly, the crowd gave a shit about Shaw's comeback, and so did I. It's a C. Match 3, Slammiversary 2013, 7 months later. Okay, that's quite a lot of time, so he should have developed a lot in that time. Jay Bradley, who's best known for wearing stupid hats, versus Sam Shaw. This is called a gut check tournament final, yet he didn't have any matches to get here. If I paid for this show, I'd be pissed. Shaw starts out with a quick roll-up. He now has an attempted mohawk hairstyle. He drops Jay Bradley out the corner and then hits a headlock takeover. Shaw tries a headlock, but Bradley has a big-time back suplex. Suddenly, Shaw's in the ring doing a forward roll and he monkey flips Bradley across the ring. He tries another, but Bradley doesn't let it happen. Bradley is working a slow, methodical style and he hits a headbutt. Shaw tries a comeback which doesn't go well because Bradley hits a nice backbreaker for a 2. The crowd are in complete silence here, and why would they care? They haven't seen Shaw for over a half a year. Shaw starts a weird comeback as he jumps at Bradley and forces him to the ground. I think he fucked up. Shaw nails a drop kick in the corner and a backbreaker, but he can't do his net breaker because he gets thumbed in the eye. Bradley hits a clothesline finisher that he calls the boomstick. This never really got over in TNA because it didn't look that impressive. It's not exactly Bradshaw's clothesline from hell. Jay Bradley proceeds to cut a promo saying that he's a future world champion. I don't need to tell you guys, this did not come true. The match had no heat and it was boring and awkward. It's an S. I've done a full video on the storylines that Sam Shaw was involved with, so check it out. If you want to cut a long story short though, Sam Shaw is now going by Samuel Shaw and he's obsessed with Christie hemme. Match 4, another 6 months later. Okay, what's he going to have now, dreadlocks? Well, he doesn't have that, but instead he has weird wrestling gear, and his hairstyle looks like something from the 1920s. It's all combed to the side, it looks so tight, it might be cutting off the circulation to his brain. He has a Dexter character, and he isn't wearing wrestling gear anymore. His opponent is Fern, who, by the way, is one of my favourite jobbers of all time. Shaw doesn't agree with me on that, and he floors the jobber. He whips Fern into the corner and he follows it with a power slam. Shaw keeps looking at Christie hemme after every move and he hits a cross backbreaker. There's a very awkward atmosphere to this match. Shaw locks on a high choke whilst whispering shh at the jobber. It's over. Well, his style has certainly changed a lot in 6 months. Christie hemme looks scared and everyone else looks bored. As far as squash matches go, it wasn't fun, entertaining, and it didn't make me want to see more of him.
Oh
it's
man,
an S.
shove it!
Match 5. Samuel Shaw now has really good 80s music and a cup of tea for some reason. Shaw is upset because Christie hemme is hiding from him and she doesn't want him getting a place on the Ring of the Hawk roster. Mr. Anderson is here, but he's not actually Shaw's opponent. He proceeds to rip him apart on the microphone while Shaw looks like he's going to cry as the whole crowd call him a creepy bastard. He's taking on Eric Young. Shaw is distracted and he almost gets rolled up straight away. Eric Young hits 10 punches in the corner, but Shaw seems to quite enjoy that one. Shaw jabs EY in the throat and chokes him in the corner. The whole crowd are chanting creepy bastard, so Shaw's not enjoying this match. Young starts dominating and he gets a 2 count on a belly to belly. It looks like Eric Young's about to win, but the match spills to the outside. Talking of spills, Shaw spills his tea in Eric Young's face and then he puts a chokehold on Anderson and the match is thrown out. Look, the problem here is that he's playing the part of a monster heel, but all his opponents make him look stupid as he gets dominated in the ring and it's hard to take him seriously. He hit a jab to the throat and that was pretty much it, so it's an F.
Shove it, man! Shove it!
He's heading for the Garrett Bischoff shove it zone at this rate. Oh yeah, Anderson makes him look even more foolish after the match when he tricks Shaw into thinking that he's Christie hemme. Then Anderson beats the hell out of him. Match 6, TNA Lockdown 2014 cage match. Samuel Shaw who's upset again because Christie hemme's missing. In fact, he's distraught. He climbs up the cage with a microphone and he starts calling for Christie. Then he says that if Christie doesn't come out now, he's going to professionally end it all and throw himself off the cage. He's interrupted by his opponent tonight, Mr. Anderson, who tells him that there's no point jumping because it's not high enough. He says all he'll do is break an ankle and he'll be even more goofy looking. Anderson's destroying this guy on the mic yet again without Shaw getting a response. Shaw climbs down and the door is locked. Shaw is scared of Anderson and he's cowering in the corner. Mr. Anderson finally does something, he takes him down with a clothesline. Christie hemme comes out to watch like an idiot. Shaw gets his boot up in the corner and tries to escape, but he doesn't get far. Anderson tries to hit Shaw with the mic check, but Shaw fights it off. Anderson instead hits him with a gut wrench suplex, which is really random. This doesn't hurt Shaw much, and he turns the tide and starts climbing the cage again. He gets to the top, but seems to be struggling. This gives Anderson time to recover. Shaw eventually fights Anderson off whilst the crowd chants CM Punk. Anderson wakes up in time to stop Shaw again, and then finally something happens as Anderson nails a back suplex, which folds Shaw up like an accordion. Both men make it up to their knees, but Shaw throws him out of the way. Then he realises that Christie hemme is here. Shaw wants to leave through the cage, but Anderson charges him from behind to take out Shaw and Earl Hebner at the same time. Anderson hits his mic check finisher and then he hits a second one, this time crashing into the turnbuckle. Mr. Anderson starts screaming at Christie, asking if she's happy with the beating he's given Sam Shaw. And then he starts screaming in Sam Shaw's ear, which is probably the most painful looking move in this match. Anderson clearly has the match won, but the referee's out. Shaw somehow pulls Christie hemme through a hole in the cage. Shaw now has her cornered in the cage with no one else in there. Why doesn't she go back through the hole she came through? Christie slaps Shaw as Anderson charges back into the cage. Mr. Anderson smacks him down a few times and gets Christie out of the cage, but Shaw hits him in the nutsack. Sam Shaw locks on the choke and then Anderson passes out. Shaw walks out the cage as Earl Hebner wakes up to declare Shaw the winner. Exactly the same thing I've been saying throughout this video. He just doesn't get enough offense in for him to seem like a credible threat, and Anderson easily had the match won. The character work is great, but the actual matches are not. I found this whole thing sort of entertaining. It was certainly one of the more unique cage matches I've ever seen, so it's a C. Nothing special, but at least it was different. Match 7, Street Fight. Samuel Shaw with half a sex doll versus Mr. Anderson. Shaw doesn't let him do the mic drop entrance and he beats Anderson down ramp. The crowd are still loudly chanting creepy bastards, so this gimmick seems to be getting over. Shaw whips Anderson into the steel steps. They carry on brawling around the outside of the ring until Shaw hits a suplex on the outside. They come into the ring then trading blows. Anderson hits his spinning neckbreaker thing and I've never seen it look so bad. He quickly follows it up with the Green Bay plunge. Mr. Anderson now has hold of the doll and he's threatening to punch it as Sam Shaw falls to his knees screaming no. Then Anderson kisses the doll and throws it at Shaw. It's over. I thought this match would be a bit more serious. If you think about it, Shaw unfairly won the last match and he choked Anderson out, so you'd think Anderson would be angry and want to teach Shaw a lesson. Anderson starts yelling his name at the doll. What a weird match. A D because at least it was interesting, but Shaw's lack of moves is really concerning. Match 8, Straight Jacket match. Mr. Anderson... Why again? There's nothing left of Shaw at this point. Are we supposed to be taking him seriously? It's Anderson versus Samuel Shaw. Shaw says that he's not a creepy bastard and his hands are precious. Then he asks Mr. Anderson what he does with his hands as Anderson pulls a funny face. Anderson knocks Shaw off the apron and he tries to put the straight jacket on Shaw, but it's way too soon. Shaw hits a knee to the gut, but we all know his offense is too weak and Anderson tosses him into the steps. We come back from the advert break and Shaw has Anderson's arms in the jacket, but he fights it off. Anderson starts a comeback whilst wearing the straight jacket. It looks really funny. He hits his spinning net breaker in the Green Bay plunge and then he removes the jacket. Anderson tries to put Shaw in the jacket, but he hits a kick to the nutsack. Shaw somehow locks on the choke whilst wearing the jacket, so it looks like he might win. Samuel Shaw puts his arms in, but Anderson wakes up, so Shaw chokes him a little bit more. Shaw eventually locks the jacket on to win the match. It was a really bad, boring, slow match. 10 minutes of my life I won't ever get back. He didn't hit a single move. I hated this one, at least the other ones were funny. It's an
Stop
S.
it, man!
Match 9, Committed match. Sacrifice 2014. Samuel Shaw versus Mr. Anderson. Again. At least they seem to be taking this one more seriously. 2 minutes pass as Shaw keeps running from Anderson, so it sucks yet again. Shaw grabs Hemme and then he shoves her into Anderson, but he smacks him one. In the ring, Anderson hits a nice back body drop and then he clotheslines Shaw out the ring. On the outside, Shaw turns it around, slamming Anderson to the ring apron. It's a hardcore match that isn't really a hardcore match. There's nothing unique or exciting to see here. I'd rather they had a normal match than just clubbing each other around the ring for 10 minutes. Shaw puts his choke on and Anderson seems to be out. Samuel Shaw is stupid and he gets distracted by Hemme again. She slaps him, but Shaw likes it and she runs to the back. Anderson's awake now and he hits the spinning neckbreaker which spins Shaw out of the ring. They head up the ramp with more brawling because I guess we haven't seen enough of that in this video. The highlight of the match is Anderson hitting the Green Bay plunge on the ramp. Of course it wasn't Shaw getting the smack of the week. They head further into the back where Anderson starts using a steel chair. Then he sends Shaw into the guardrail, knocking it over. They head into the back where JB is stood at the interview set and Anderson asks him to interview them. It's funny, but yet again Anderson destroys Shaw on the mic. Anderson drops Shaw in a cart and then shunts it into some boxes. We finally arrive at the padded wagon where Shaw fights back. Christie Hemme walks up and kicks him in the nutsack. As he turns around, Anderson hits the mic check on the edge of the wagon and he sends Shaw into the wagon to end the match. Really long and boring. As with all the other matches, Anderson at least made it funny, but not because of anything Shaw did. This one's a D. No matches for a while now as Shaw was at the funny farm, but he eventually got brought back by Gunner who was trying to turn him into a good guy. Match 10, 6-man tag, the Bromans versus Gunner, Shaw and Anderson, who's still making fun of him. Shaw wants to start the match, but Anderson doesn't let him in because he hates him. Gunner wants to bring Shaw in, but Anderson steals the tag. This happens a couple of times, so Shaw's a bit of a non-factor in this match. Samuel Shaw eventually does force his way into the ring, and he's a real house on fire, and he clears the ring. Anderson still isn't impressed, and one of the Bro-men roll him up. Shaw wastes 2 seconds staring at the pin attempt gormlessly before someone finally grabs his leg. He's unable to break up the pin. Anderson's still being a dick to Shaw and this match sucked ass, isn't it? Match 11. Mr. Anderson versus Samuel Shaw. Kill me. This time it's an I Quit match which starts in the back. Anderson whacks Shaw with a steel chair before Shaw chokes him out of a wire. Anderson doesn't want to quit and he picks up Shaw and hits him with the Green Bay plunge on the ramp. Mr. Anderson gets distracted by Gunner, which enables Shaw to hit a drop toe hold on the ramp. They fight around the ring for the 50th time. Shaw has the mic and screams, "Say you quit," so Anderson says, "You quit." I might find this funny if I hadn't had to sit through the same boring match 6 times. Shaw attempts a submission hold in the ring and after a bit of a struggle he puts a camel clutch on. Anderson refuses to quit and he fights back, spinning net breaker, but Shaw fights off the Green Bay plunge. Then he charges into the ring pole like a complete moron. Anderson then randomly hits a flying armbar and he puts on a submission and Shaw quits. What a loser, he quit at the first time of being asked and it wasn't as if Anderson was even working on his arm before the end bit. The same match in half the time, which is only a good thing for me. I have to say, it's yet another X. This is appalling. Why didn't Samuel Shaw do anything? Match 12, tag match. Gunner and Samuel Shaw versus Bram and Magnus, who are apparently childhood friends, just because they're the only 2 British guys on the roster, I guess. Shaw starts with Magnus and Shaw surprisingly hits a dropkick. It was really quite remarkable at this point in the video. Magnus hits a slam, but Shaw quickly snaps off an arm drag before tagging Gunner in. Shaw leaves his feet again with a leg drop. This is already the most offense he's hit in 8 matches. Gunner's doing well, but Shaw tags himself in, which annoys the gunman. Samuel starts getting beaten up by Magnus until there's a double down and Gunner gets back in. Gunner comes off the top and he hurts his ankle. He then gets clipped and rolled up. Shaw stares like a gormless moron and doesn't break up the pin. Again. After the match he throws a tantrum because he's an idiot. I don't know what he has to complain about here. I'm ripping my studio apart with rage. These matches are terrible. I can't give him a D just because he hit a leg drop, can I? Match 13, the Idiot Abyss. I wondered when he'd show up. He's in a filthy pedo coat with mould all over it. He takes on Samuel Shaw, who has absolutely no chance of winning this match. Shaw and Abyss look like they're going to kiss. Shaw offers his hand, but Abyss doesn't take it, and does a weird pose. Abyss throws him straight to the floor twice. Shaw charges straight at Abyss, who elbows him in the face. Shaw does manage to fight off the choke slam, but then he gets choked and pushed out the ring. They brawl on the outside of the ring, but the only thing hurting Abyss is his own stupidity as he smacks the ring pole. Abyss tries a chair shot but misses that again. Shaw slams the paws of Abyss into the pole a couple of times and they walk around together holding hands. The match finally gets back in the ring with Shaw unable to completely take Abyss down. Shaw tries a dive from the second rope but he gets caught and taken down. Abyss then hits a side slam and a choke slam, so I guess working on his hand was pointless. Shaw's now on the outside of the ring and he hits Abyss with a chair without the ref seeing. He then comes straight back into the ring and Abyss hits the black hole slam to end the match. Wait, what? Why did he hit him with a chair? What was the point? Why go to the hassle of doing a secret chair shot if you're going to have him lose a second later? Abyss didn't even leave his feet once in this match. At least it wasn't Anderson though, so it's a D. Match 14, hardcore match. Samuel Shaw versus Bram. Shaw smacks him with a trash can lid straight away. Then he drop kicks a trash can into Bram's face. Fair play, something different. They decide to brawl on the outside, but Bram is unable to hit Shaw with a wrench. Shaw sends Bram into a pole. The crowd are in complete silence, they don't care about either guy. Shaw slowly stalks Bram with a chair and then he jabs him in the ribs and smacks him in the back. The match is turned when Bram starts using a Singapore cane. Shaw is sat on the top rope and Bram tries to suplex him for about 2 minutes. Then, finally, the best moment of the video, Shaw hits a sunset flip powerbomb into a stack of steel chairs in the ring. Unfortunately for him, it doesn't end the match because Bram fights off the choke attempt and he sends Shaw into a pole in the corner. Bram then whacks Shaw in the face with a wrench to end the match. Well, it was the best match in God knows how long, but it wasn't much of a match, it was moving in slow motion. It's a C and I'm probably being generous. Match 15, tag match. Low Key, okay that's random, and Samoa Joe versus Samuel Shaw and Gunner. Shaw starts out this one with Samoa Joe. Let me tell you, it doesn't go well for Samuel. Joe hits an elbow and a kick in the other corner before bringing Low Key in. Key hits a springboard kick for a 2 count before Shaw runs away and tags Gunner in like he's dumping in his nappy. Brittany, aka Santana Garrett, appears at ringside. For some reason she has a thing for Samuel Shaw. He eventually comes back in the ring for a leg drop on Low Key. Brittany is distracting everyone at ringside. It allows Low Key to hit a drop kick on Gunner as he comes off the top. Brittany eventually hooks Gunner's leg and then Samoa Joe taps him out. She then comes into the ring, which is the highlight of this one. Gunner and Brittany start arguing over Shaw, which leads to Shaw hitting Gunner with a chair 8 times. Brittany is turned on by this and she makes out with Shaw on top of Gunner. Whatever, she's hot but the match still sucked. It's a D. Match 16, hardcore match. Samuel Shaw with Brittany versus Gunner, who Shaw jumps on his way to the ring. Shaw makes out with Brittany but gets speared by Gunner. Then he gets a big fall away slam on the outside. Why do 90% of Shaw's matches take place on the outside? Gunner hits him in the gut of a chair before he gets distracted by Brittany and Shaw drop kicks the chair into his face. Shaw tries his chokehold, which hasn't worked in like 10 matches. Shaw takes a big back body drop and then of course they both end up on the outside. Gunner hits Shaw with the chair whilst Brittany screams like an eagle. It doesn't affect Shaw much and he drops Gunner across the steps. Brittany and Shaw make out after every move. Gunner powers Shaw back into the ring and Shaw tries a dive on him. I think he was meant to catch him with a powerbomb or a spear, but instead it was neither. Cool move up next as Gunner hits a top rope superplex into a pile of chairs and they both fall into them. Gunner's up now and he powerbombs Shaw off the ring apron onto the steel steps. Cool move. Brittany decides to come into the ring because her man isn't doing well and she hits a low blow. Then, all three are grabbing each other. What happened? And Shaw hits Gunner with a steel chair. Shaw tries to get Gunner to his feet, but when he makes it up he delivers almost an F5 into the chairs. The best match in this video. Finally, someone let Shaw hit a few moves and it was a really hard hitting affair. And not as slow as the other matches, by the way. It's a B. I wouldn't mind seeing more of this Gunner guy, he looks like he has potential. Match 17, Feast or Fired. Shaw is just in the ring and he's been given the jobber treatment, which is never a good sign. Talk about downfalls, look at the state of the arena. It's pitch black because no one's in TNA anymore. Shaw is pretty much invisible in this match. No, wait, there he is, he's on the apron. Spud is trying to get a case down but he gets smacked in the back by Shaw. Shaw launches him across the ring and he tries to collect his own case. He falls in his nutsack on the top rope because of Gunner. Rockstar Spud climbs up again and he uses Shaw as a platform to be able to reach the case. Shaw is such a running joke on this show. Austin Aries then proves why he was one of the greatest wrestlers in the world at this point as he motions that he's going to do a big dive to the outside but instead he takes a case down. Once he's secured his case, he's happy to dive into everyone. Magnus takes the final case and we're done. Another S for sure. Match 18, final match, 20-man over the top rope gauntlet match. Samuel Shaw enters the match during the advert break because he's deemed not important enough. Tyrus, who completely sucks by the way, eliminates Sam Shaw straight away. At least he got a free trip to Glasgow out of it. Scotland's nice in the winter. There's a little tip for any of you goons who want a winter break this year. Who am I kidding? We're all going to be locked down again by then. Sorry, I'm in a really negative headspace from all these matches. It's an S. That wasn't great. Other than his chokehold, I'm not sure what his other moves were. A drop kick? His surfer character had a bit more going on in the ring, but no character work. There was no happy medium. His stalker character had great character, but nothing going on in the ring. I feel like Shaw's character had a lot of promise, but 6 matches against Anderson pretty much killed it, and it turned into a joke. And was he supposed to be, a monster heel? He sure didn't wrestle like one. I remember watching this at the time and enjoying the character stuff, and I think most people can agree it was a nice attempt to be different. Unfortunately, a character isn't going to take off strongly on TV when he's losing every match and being beaten convincingly, and then he disappears from TV for long periods. So the question is, can he do the JOB, or can he shove it? I'm going to give him a D because I can see the promise he had, but just like his chokehold, these matches made me fall asleep, and I don't want your opinion, there's no need to speak.